So welcome everybody
Thanks
to part
for
two.
that warning.
Well, it goes live really quick, man. It does. Sorry, it goes live quick.
So hi guys, welcome back to Journey into Freedom with me, your host, Red Gypsy. My co-host, Scarlet Anonymous, is finally with us, and together we are the Crimson Ladies.
Hello. Okay. I'm going to chat right now to find all of our fine folks.
Yes, Pam was waiting.
So
I was just telling my friend here, because she is like one of the only people I know that really understands. I went to go on live and I had my rag on.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So my braids on this side
like I ain't ready for
are
it.
kind of funky because I had my rag on.
Right. We gotta get you
yeah.
turban for like on there that you could wear at night.
Oh, I have all sorts of hats, but it's hot as hell in here most of the time.
Well, that's good. At least you're not freezing.
So I don't really usually want to be wearing a hat. Like I really only have the blanket kind of over me just because it's, I don't know, it's a security thing.
Security thing. I feel it. I get it.
More than anything. And it kind of looks cool. It kind of looks like it's like a robe.
Or a cape.
Yeah, like a cape. And I'm a very capey person. So this.
You're a capey person. You do like capes. And
I fucking do. I'm really, really pissed that I ordered that cape that still has not arrived.
I know. That was supposed to be super cool. That was
and it was the first time I was going to have something red.
I know. For Red. Everybody feels sorry for Red. Sad for Red.
No, we've already done that because they brought us around to the 4 ways of telling a fake healer from a folk healer. And those ways are ways that we've talked about many times, but it was really nice to kind of see somebody from way back when also feel the same way.
Right.
So like the generals, since you missed it, were and anybody who was not here prior to 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, you missed about 2 hours of the previous show.
Yeah, so make sure you go onto the website and go to episode 18 of Journey into Freedom, and you can catch up.
I should have told you to label this folk versus fake, because that's what I labeled it.
Oh, I can send a message about that because it doesn't give me a choice. So, but when we upload it on, when we upload it onto the other sources, it will. And when we re-upload it back to Spreaker, it also will.
So the first way that they believe, which you've heard me say a billion times, and I'm so glad you're here because I kept saying, I wish Scarlet was here because she's heard me say almost these exact words so many times. I swear to God, I had never read this book before I found it. Actually, this particular book I found at the free box.
Yes, we love the free box. The free box is it.
We do love
every community should have a free box like this, though. I really think that should catch on.
That should be a thing. It should be a thing in every community. The free box should be a thing.
It should, because I feel like lots of communities could utilize it. People are always throwing stuff away and putting it at the garbage, but
they're putting really cool shit in our free box.
There is. There really, really is.
Like, ain't nobody throwing nothing away around here. It goes to free box.
Right. Oh, you guys, in Home Depot in California, they're limiting masks to only 10 a person. Yes, so that's something that we should all be ready for. Because if masks are already going like this, it's crazy.
Now, the first way that they told us, Scarlet, to determine fake from folk, right?
Right.
Is that working in harmony with a medical physician. Most of them will. If they're the ones that are very quick to blame medical physicians for every little single solitary thing,
yeah,
they're probably more on the fake side. You know, your normal folk healer is usually willing to work in harmony with a medical physician and will encourage their patients to go see one if they feel that their methods are not working or if it needs more assistance or anything of that nature. If they're downing them a lot, that's probably a good sign that you're dealing with a fake rather than a folk. Right? And how many times have you heard me say that?
right. A lot of times.
The second way that they told us is that the folk doctor is usually always more interested, well, always more interested in the needs of the patients rather than the monetary value.
Right.
Of the visit. So, you know, a lot of times your folk healers will waive away payment for somebody that can't afford it or take a trade. Those that won't or don't do that, you're probably, again, dealing with more of a fake than a folk. Which I went into the whole thing right there about how, and again, I'm glad you're here because you can attest for it. How often do people give me a hard time, Scarlet?
A lot. Quite a bit.
You know, Red, do you have this certification? Red, do you have that certification? Red, why aren't you making money on all of this? How often do I hear this?
Right.
They hound me about it. And it's like, but again, and you've heard me say it a billion times, right, Scarlet? You heard me say it. If you are in the healing business and you are expecting to make money or get rich, you're doing something wrong.
Right. That's true. A lot of people, but so many people think that way now too, that, you know, it's all about, you know, if you're a doctor, it's all about making the most money you can. It's all about having the best car you can. It's all about, you know, all about everything else, right? It's not necessarily about the medicine. It's about what you can get out of a career.
Exactly. So that was the second way that they told us. The third way was that folk doctors are usually keeping it pretty simple. So if they come in and they have a bunch of, you know, flashing lights and gizmos and gadgets and stuff, like I said, some things, larger items could be explained. You know, like for instance, I have the inversion table, which was totally a present from a client that couldn't afford the work I had done with them. Things of that nature, okay, but if they're coming at you with a whole bunch of real expensive looking stuff, 10 to 1, they're probably fake versus folk. Because again, like I said, us folk healers might come at you with a lot of stuff, some sage, an egg, some stone, some crystals, some sound therapy bowls maybe, but we ain't coming at you with a whole bunch of expensive looking equipment.
That's true.
Okay, we're keeping it pretty simple. Because, well, most of the whole idea of curing is supposed to be simple.
It's supposed to be, but they've turned it into a perverted version of medicine now. I mean, like considering literally what I'm just about to post right now, basically they talk about, you know, this newest foundation and group of people, right? This came from John Rappaport, that they're trying to basically use the whole world as a guinea pig. You know, this is like the planet is a test. And
no, you know what I said earlier? Because somebody was like, Red, you can't even make, okay, it was peanut gallery, right? But he's like, babe, you can't even make this shit up. I'm like, but you can. It was called Resident Evil.
Yeah, or people were talking that too, and people were talking about the movie Contagion from 2011.
Oh, what was the
12
monkey movie?
12 Monkeys. Yep.
No. The other monkey movie where the monkey had the virus and they had to chase the monkey down. And the monkey was in the backyard with the little girl.
Oh, yeah. I'm dang. If anybody knows, let us know in chat. Because Red and I are drawing.
I can't remember the name of that movie, but I remember that movie. Okay.
And I get it. And it's like these, it's stranger than truth is stranger than fiction sometimes, right?
Right.
But what concerns me is that we've moved from a take care of the people model to where they're talking about, we have to protect our national interests. We have to protect our economies. We have to protect everything but the person.
Earlier, we discussed a particular couple, a man specifically that had been diagnosed with cancer that was receiving treatment here in the United States and decided to stop his treatment here in the United States and go to Mexico. And upon being questioned on why he would have chosen to leave such great medical care here for such what we would consider barbaric care in Mexico, right?
Right.
Like, logical question.
Right, because so many people say, they crack jokes, don't drink the water in Mexico.
Quackery, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, don't go down to Mexico and get your gallbladder taken out, or, because a lot of people do go down there for low-cost surgeries.
Right, and they said that it actually had nothing to do with the money and they had no problems with their doctor here, but they felt treated more like a human being and had more personal attention and individuality in their care in Mexico than their doctor had time for them here.
That's sad because we've turned appointments into a money-making scheme, right?
See? And the argument that we don't do medicine anymore.
I'm having some internet issues, so I'm going to be right back.
Okay.
Keep going, Red.
All right. The reason that we keep having, I don't know where I was going with that now. So where we had left off, Pam, I hope you're still there. They believe his condition was, we left off with the Israelite king, and they described it as a boil. We believe now that that was probably a tumor due to the nature of the serious description of it. And so the older Hebrew folk remedy assumed a new meaning in light of the research that was done in Japanese science. And this active carcinostatic principle in figs that is called benzaldehyde clinically steam distillates of fig fruit that reduces malignant human tumors by as much as 39%. And ironically, figs work better on human tumors than on mice or rats. So they believe that they probably, that's how they cured him with figs. So the use of heat forms as cancer treatment goes all the way back to 3000 BC. Okay. Edwin Smith Surgical Papyrus, which is 1650 BC. There is mentions of Egyptian physicians treating what they called a lump of echidia, which we believe is a tumor, as well as breast tumors and They treated it with fire drill, which is castorization without a fire. Chinese medical text Ni Qing, written somewhere between 479 and 300 BC, contemporary Hippocratic book as well, contain modified versions of burning the flesh with metal of some sort. Downy, powdery leaves of mugwort, distinct relative of wormwood. You would place that on the cancer externally and light it, cover it with a cone for a few minutes, allow the heat to penetrate into the flesh, and they coined this treatment word, moxa bustin. Onion and garlic slices or powdered ginger root are often used with mugwort for greater efficiency now in today's world, rather than just putting mugwort on the person and lighting them on fire.
Right.
So we've learned a little bit.
Yeah.
But Celsius, which was Roman aristocrat, when he spoke about cancer in 2,000 year ago writings, he also mentions castration with hot scalpels and knives being the standard method of treatment. However, 1866 is the first real use of the heat that treated internal as well as external cancers, and this was by the German physician. He believed that temperatures above normal to be useful in killing cancer cells. So the idea then was born of hypothermia.
Okay.
So the first quarter of 20th century, Jethro Kloss, this famous American herbalist, started using himself to treat his cancer patients after reading in some ancient literatures. So he had quite a number of successfully scored cures and offered to pass the recorded results of his work on to the National Center for Cancer Research Institute, located in Washington, D.C. In 1939, he was politely turned down. Did you hear that, y'all? He had scores of cured patients and tried to turn all of his data over to the Cancer Research Institute, and they wouldn't accept it.
That's ridiculous.
Which is why I tell people all the time, don't give to those people standing outside saying, collect for cancer research, because they have the cures.
That's true, though. You know, honestly, a lot of those fundraisers like that, Susan G. Komen, especially, a lot of these supposed non-profits make a hella profit off of everyone. And yes. If you researched, you know, I've met so many people in groups who have cured their cancer, yes, cured, healed themselves, because when you do it yourself, nobody can take that away from you. Now, a company, they could try to come after. But an individual who cures themselves can't do anything to you. And they hate that. And people have done it with no chemotherapy, no allopathic treatments, and they are the healthiest they've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. Hate to be that guy, but here we are, and we have people, people who say, oh no, chemotherapy is the platinum cure, it's the end all be all. I don't necessarily see it that way. At all.
So they wouldn't take his findings.
Right.
They wouldn't accept his treatments. And he wasn't even like asking for money. He was just trying to give it to him.
Right.
Like, here, let's save lives together. And they're like, no, we're not in this to save lives. You misunderstood our game.
Well, that's just
Not being an asshole, but that's the truth.
Well, you're not wrong.
They're not in it to cure people. By any means of that word.
No, because if we were all cured, we would never go back to the doctor. So what would be the purpose? Right?
Well, this is what I've always told people, that, you know, when you go and you see a actual medical physician, if they actually cure you, they lose their money.
Mm-hmm. So why would they want to lose out on all the potential profit that they would get? For what purpose?
Right. Is Pam still with us?
I believe Pam is still with us. A few people just popped in chat because we have an update, so I'll give that update since we're checking on our chat, folks. Is that a 6.3 just popped off in the Solomon Islands, as well as a 4.2 in Puerto Rico 28 minutes ago. But it's a notable size quake in the Solomon Islands. I only see 2 reports of testimonies here on the EMSC, but yes, people had popped in to let us know about the large 6.3 in the Solomon Islands. I bet it's bigger than what they're saying. I think they're hiding earthquakes. Personally, we know that, but I think they're just hiding them on a daily basis now. Because, yeah, some of these on the seismologist page say 6.5, 6.4, you know, but it's coming in at a 6.3 supposedly. So we'll see. But let's go see if I know that my internet had that glitch that it was having a problem here.
Now, in 1939, they say, nope, we don't want your information. We don't want anything to do with it. And then in the late 1970s, a bunch of medical centers decided to try hypothermia. Guess what their results are?
What were they?
Oh, heat works to fight cancer.
Oh, okay.
So in 1939, you could have had all that information and been using it, but you said no and waited until the 1970s.
Well, much like the man who created orgone wanted them in every hospital room, and they agreed to do it in the early 1920s and then reneged.
Yep.
Same type of idea. Yeah. You know, he wanted to have, you know, the conductors in every room because it was going to help mitigate negative energy, of which, honestly, with this outbreak, people might want to get some. If they were meant to be in hospitals to facilitate healing, there's something to it. To quantify those negative energies.
Yep.
You know, frequency affects us regardless. You know, Farmer W says that he's now going after the local power company because the cows are having issue with stray voltage. Well, the stray voltage actually lowers your immune system. So if it can lower immune system in animals, it does in us for sure. That's just the way I see it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just one of those things where you can't imagine if it's affecting an animal that it couldn't be affecting us, especially when they're showing such sensitive symptoms to it. And considering they use so many like bovine products to put inside of us for vaccines and biologics, it's something to pay attention to if it affects them, because they sure think our systems work similarly to inject all these things that come from the origin. So, I'm just saying.
Right.
It just makes you wonder why. Why did they want to stop healing and growth? Why did they want to stop people from finding their bigger? If we were healthier, we could have bigger and better purposes, right?
Sure.
Those who are sick, at this point, with how many people are sick, and then they're saying, especially the millennial age groups, so our age group, they're struggling. They're struggling. And they're having health problems more so than our parents and our grandparents even.
Right.
How much greater could we be as a collective if people weren't all sick?
Right.
That's my biggest thing. I think we could be a lot farther than where we are. That's just, one of the ideas that I have. I think that they've done this to stop potential innovation. That's kind of how I see it as.
Right. Now, we had very active use of folk medicine tradition in the health profession, but it ceased during this century, pretty much, which was, like the 70s, 80s. Naturopathy is the strongest bridge now between folk healing and modern holistic medicine. It's the bridge whose existence at times depends only on a very limited number of individuals. One of them is John Baster, ND. Now, over 50 plus years ago, stuff was different than now. So when you look into naturopathy or naturopathic medicine of Seattle and Washington, I do believe that they still have a private practice working out of Seattle City Center Liniment. But most of them have been put out. They don't really exist anymore.
Right.
And they've fallen back to like more backwood placed areas. Now, he is often referred to as the father of modern naturopathy medicine. So it's people like, people come to me all the time and they're like, I've never really thought of myself as a folk healer necessarily, but
but I guess that's what it is. If they're calling anything that isn't allopathic a folk healer, well, then I guess that's the definition, right?
So. Right. So like, there is animosity toward the natural oriented doctors versus the non-natural oriented doctors.
And there has been and we can tell now, especially that naturopathics have gotten more common and more popular. We do see that there is some type of tension if doctors aren't recommending what is supposedly standard. You know, if you get a doctor who says take elderberry over Tamiflu, now you've got tension. And it never
Right.
was like that before. It used to be more complimentary, you know, but there was a time, I guess, where folk remedies started to be laughed at. For what reason? I do not know.
The folk healers and all other healers who practice in the vitalistic tradition have had a very basic problem in proving the validity of their work. Now, the problem is that our methods are based upon observation of actual individual cases. This is empiricism rather than the application of principles. Our success is usually most often undocumented, and our work isn't statistically quantified.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Most of the times, a natural cure is called spontaneous remission by a medical doctor. The very nature of empirical medicine alone has made it a suspect as a valid approach in this current age of proof by statistical corroboration. So the aim now of the folk healer and the doctors of naturopathic medicine for 50 plus years now has basically been to scientifically verify the correctness of natural and folk-based healing. So the search for this specific evidence is the guiding principle of nature. They will relate physical health and the becoming within that 20th century. So contemporary diagnostics and elevated equipment and computerization and modern medical procedures, they chart the effects of we can chart the effects of natural remedies. But in so doing, we have to also depart from just the purely empirical mode of having embarked upon established the new science of natural healing. Because as I said before, they should be able to work in harmony together. There shouldn't be any reason that they can't.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any reason why they can't.
Now, when Dr. Baster was one of the leading people in establishing naturopath. So before him, there was the College of Naturopathic Medicine, and it was founded, and he attempted to identify the scientific effects of natural healing, and he wanted to devise the combination of natural therapies that could uniformly be applied according to pathology.
Interesting. That's really like when you think about
he says, right, and he says that when he was a young doctor, it didn't bother him not to understand exactly how and why these things were working. But the procedures that he was using were 80 to 90% effective most of the time. And a lot of the reliable procedures that he was using are now classified as old wives' tales.
That's true. Because now they act like they have to, okay, even though they can't prove the mechanism of how most drugs even work, we have now somehow X'd out all of the folk medicines that we could be using. Now, how does that make sense? It doesn't make sense.
It's like you missed earlier in the show when I said, it's like having your parents and then being like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for making me. And you can die now.
Right. But some people feel like that now too. Remember that guy? Remember a few years ago when we covered that guy who was trying to like sue his parents for him even being born? Do you remember that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. But I also said it's also like having the foundation of a house and they're ripping out the foundation without having another solid foundation to place the building on.
Well, that's just it. You know, even though we couldn't figure out how these things work, like I said, again, most drugs, we don't necessarily know the full mechanism. Most vaccines, we don't know the full mechanism of how they work. We know they just work.
Right. And he says that the knowledge behind them was strictly empirical and that these wives' tales have virility. Or validity.
Validity?
Thank you.
Yep. I got you.
But there was, as he progressed further as a doctor, there became a demand from the medical community for scientific rationale. And this increased throughout the century. And Dr. Baster became more active in addressing casual aspects of disease and natural healing with these folk-oriented techniques, as did the entire naturopathic profession. Now, their primary difference between old folk healers and modern naturopathic healers is that the naturopathic understands the chemical and physiological actions of medication. The old herbal doctors worked by experience, didn't know why things worked. Some of the real old timers even believed in doctrine of signatures. That's the belief that if a plant was heart shaped, it was good for the heart, or if it was liver shaped, it was good for the liver.
And I could see how maybe that didn't say and pass muster. Okay, I can just see that because I could see something you'd run into that you'd be like, but no. So,
right.
I mean, that's a bad idea. I get it. It was probably a novel thought at the time. Like, oh yeah, eat something that's liver shaped for liver, you know?
Right. Logic.
Logic. You know, I could see people being like, that makes sense because let's mirror, you know, as above, so below type of idea. You know, if I eat this food that's liver shaped, it will, you know, supplement my liver.
Right. So Dr. Griffith, with a bachelor's and master's degree in psychology, received his MD in 1975. Now, he was, in 1982, one of the current crop of recent naturopathic graduates, determined to boost the status of the naturopathic world, not just within legal framework of medicine, but within the intellectual realm of science. So they started researching the actions of medication. One of the things that most troubles the modern naturopath is the lack of scientific research on herbal drug action. We rely upon the old body of empirical knowledge. We recognize that many of the people who contributed most to it didn't really have the foggiest idea of what was actually going on. They just knew they told them to take this and it worked.
Okay.
So some of the old-fashioned naturopaths still aren't very concerned about why things are working. Their main concern is that the patient gets better, and this is admirable enough on a humanistic level, but he didn't consider it complete as an intellectual discipline or a scientific art. So he wants to see his patient get better, but he also wants to know why they got better. So to determine exactly why each drug or procedure works for each patient, considering the synergistic qualities of combinations of drugs interfaced with biochemical individualities and emotional and lifestyle differences, we don't even know, for example, why stimulants seem to calm some hyperactive children while not others. But we can attempt to ascertain why giving remedy worked for a particular patient, and in doing this, add to a body of knowledge from which we can extract principles that may help in the future with other cases. This set of principles will also help our profession achieve intellectual credibility. But one of the reasons that naturopaths haven't been able to extensively research the whys and hows of their procedures, according to William Mitchell, MD, Director of Administrations of the John Baster College, is because they were not subsidized by large foundation companies or colleges. Doctors who studied pharmaceuticals because doctors studied in pharmaceuticals because there was money to do so, grants, loans, so forth. It came directly or indirectly from pharmaceutical companies themselves. There were not, however, any grants for plants. The feeling was simply that there was no real money in natural medicine, primarily because so much of it is based upon lifestyle changes the patient must make. Therefore, no major cooperations have funded studies of botanical medicine. Natural healing can be a relatively lucrative profession on an individual level, but it does not and may never support giant corporations nor hospitals. So right there is our key on why they don't want natural medicine.
Well, it makes sense.
There's no money in it, G.
No, you can't patent it. You
I've
can't
been
patent
saying that for years.
And you can't patent natural stuff. So let's not forget that. Besides the fact that you can't patent natural products, there's no money in curing people. And they know that. This is why this is so concerning. You know, we've got so much new info on the coronavirus. It's sick at this point. The Guardian is reporting right now up to 100,000 people could be infected currently. They're changing their tune now. We're going to start hearing it because they can't hide it anymore. We're getting reports that the Chinese military is going in from house to house and shooting people dead.
Right.
Just straight shooting people dead.
We'll stop there on the naturopath stuff because I have some stuff on elderberry I think everybody should be hearing right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. Yes.
Okay.
Elderberry is going to help. Whatever we can do to boost our immune systems, we're going to keep hitting this home until this threat is gone. Okay. Till they cut us off, till we can't do this anymore.
That's
we can
right.
get people ready for boosting immune system.
So tonight's immune boosting herb that we're going to talk about is elderberry.
All right.
Okay. Now, specifically, we're mostly talking about the Sambucus nigra.
Yep, Sambucus nigra, the black elderberry.
Don't be all upset with me. That's the scientific name of the blackberry. Okay?
Well, that is true. The black elderberry is
I didn't name it. These scientists did.
They did.
Now, it belongs to the Adoaxia family. Now, very important that these berries must be cooked. The flowers can be cooked or consumed raw. Flowers and leaves are historically used for pain, swelling, inflammation, stimulating the production of urine and sweating. The bark was used for a diuretic laxative and to induce vomiting. And folk medicine dried berries and juice were used to treat flu, infections, sciatica, headache, dental pain, heart pain, nerve pain, as a laxative, as a diuretic. They also used the cooked berries to make juices.
I've never heard nerve pain before. That's interesting. And
yes.
sciatica. Remember when you...
And this comes from Healthline, and it was written March 8th of 2018, by the way.
Oh, so very recently.
Right. So the cooked berries, they made into juice, jam, chutneys, pies, wine. The flowers they boiled with sugar to make syrup or infused tea. And they would also eat them fresh on salad. Ooh. Only the flowers, though. That's very important. And we're going to cover why in just a minute.
You know what, though? I found some new information challenging that you can't eat raw elderberries because apparently it was just from a group of people who had potentially eaten tainted elderberries once. So I don't know if they're trying to get a goat or what with that.
Now, I can say in all honesty, through my herbology class, that I can say that I would not recommend eating the raw berry because the raw berries, which we were going to cover, but I actually learned this too in my actual classes about it. Because remember I told you that it can build up a toxin. And that toxin that it builds up actually is elderberry, the whole plant, okay, the whole elderberry plant from root to tip, okay, including the berries, contains cyanogenic glycoside. This releases cyanide.
Right.
Okay. When we cook the berries, this goes away.
Right.
Uncooked, it does not.
Like cooked to what temperature? Heated at all? Or what is the threshold on that? Do we know?
Now, what we know is that there are 3 milligrams of cyanide per every 100 grams of fresh berries.
Okay. So 100 grams is about 3.5 ounces, give or take.
Right. 3 to 17 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh leaves. Okay. And that is 3% of the estimated fatal dosing for a 130-pound person.
Right.
Okay. So this is why you have to cook them. And they need to be cooked just enough that they're softened.
Okay.
Now, you can eat the flowers raw. The flowers do not contain the cyanide.
Right.
However,
I love elderflower drinks. If anybody's around in IKEA, go to your local IKEA and get the elderflower drink. It's in a little juice box, y'all. It's the best little drink.
They also say that the leaves, bark, branches of the elderberry all contain the cyanide and should never be used in juicing or just regular cooking.
But we were just told that the bark was used as a folk medicine.
But they specifically use the bark to induce vomiting, which goes with the cyanide aspect.
Right.
So, now going back to some reported benefits, they're very highly nutritious, elderberries to begin with, extremely. They fight cold and flu, they support heart health, they fight inflammation and infection, and much more. They have high vitamin C. They have 6 to 35 milligrams of vitamin C per 100 grams of fruit.
Okay, let's see what it is.
That is 60% of your daily intake. Right there.
Okay, okay, so a small orange that would be like 2 3/8 inch diameter or 96 grams. would have 51.1 milligrams of vitamin C.
Uh-huh.
So just so you know, a Florida orange would have more, would have 63.5 milligrams per fruit, but that's 141 gram fruit. And a navel orange would have 82.7 milligrams, but that's 140 gram fruit.
Right. So then it has dietary fiber, and it has 7 grams per 100 grams of fresh. And that's a quarter of your daily intake. This had been hurting my ears. I took it out for a few minutes.
Oh, they have 9 milligrams of folate.
Yes. Folic acid, which is the powerful antioxidant that helps to reduce damage from oxidative stress in the body.
Well, and everybody has oxidative stress. You know, people don't realize how much oxidative stress you have, but free radicals would be considered oxidative stress. Also, for those people who have MTHFR, methylation genetic mutations, this could be a natural form of folate.
Right. And the flavonol. These are antioxidant flavonols. They are quercetin, camphorol, and isohamidin. The flowers contain 10 times more flavonol than the berries.
Wow.
Now, they also have the anthocyanin. That's antioxidant with inflammatory. This affects 3.5 times the antioxidant power of vitamin E. So we have a study of 60 people with the flu. Dun, dun, dun. They are given 15 milliliters of elderberry syrup 4 times a day. Guess what happened?
They showed symptom improvement.
They did within 2 to 4 days.
See, because I had read another study recently that said it's proven to reduce flu symptoms 4 days faster.
Yes, it showed improvement within 2 to 4 days, and the control group that was given a placebo took 7 to 8 days to improve.
See? So that shows, you know, that's a direct increase from placebo for sure.
Okay. Now, I would also just like to mention that they've done a test with placebos more than what's been done with vaccines.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have a study.
Never been tested against a double-blind saline placebo.
Right.
Never.
Now we have another study of 64 people that took 175 milligrams of elderberry extract lozenges for 2 days. And this resulted in a huge improvement in flu symptoms, fever, headache, muscle ache, nasal congestion after less than 24 hours.
Right.
Now, we have a study of 312. This is important right now, so pay attention, people. 312 air travelers.
Air travelers, y'all.
Yes.
This is what we're paying attention to right now, due to the fact that if we're at the point now where what they're saying is true, okay, with the coronavirus situation, where now, like I said, they're admitting that 100,000 may already be infected. 100,000 people already infected.
Mm-hmm. So they did a study, and they used 312 air travelers. They gave them 300 milligram extract 3 times per day. They experienced shorter illnesses and less severe symptoms. Now, what they did was they had them take it 10 days prior to traveling and take it for those 10 days, and then take it while they were out traveling, and then take it for 2 to 3 days when they returned. So everybody out there traveling, 300 milligrams 3 times per day. Elderberry extract, get some. Just saying.
So how much again? Repeat.
They gave 312 air travelers 300 milligrams of extract 3 times per day for 10 days prior to travel. During their wherever they were, they took the same amount, and then for 2 to 4 days upon returning home, and they had shorter illnesses and less severe symptoms.
We need to be passing out elderberry at the airport right now.
Right. Oh, we're going to get to something very interesting on that point in just a minute. So hold tight. Okay. So we also have studies showing that 400 milliliters of elderberry juice showed antioxidant status improvement in the body in less than an hour.
Wow.
For real. Like, that's some shit to brag about right there. Just saying. We have another study that shows the juice reduces the fat levels in blood, decreasing cholesterol and reducing the risk of heart disease. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we have another study of 34 people that were given a 400 milligram extract, which was 4 milliliters of juice 3 times for 2 weeks. They actually showed no reduction in the cholesterol in the blood. And in mice, it did reduce the cholesterol in the liver and the aorta, but not in the blood. So again, we have testing on rats, mice, and humans for elderberry against placebos and some with no placebos. Just saying, keep this all in mind. We have another study on rats and the polyphenols that are extracted from elderberry. And this showed a reduction in blood pressure and less susceptible for organ damage that's caused by high blood pressure. Okay. It also may reduce uric acid levels in the blood, which affects your heart health. And here is one of the best things about it. It can increase insulin secretion and improve blood sugar. We actually have studies that show elderberry flowers inhibit enzyme A glucosidase, which helps lower your blood sugar levels. Diabetic rats that are given elderberry showed improved blood sugar control.
Interesting.
Elderberry can help the diabetic out there. Just saying. I had a diabetic. He lived with me. I made him take elderberry. I made him make some changes. He went to the doctor for the first time here in Colorado, had blood work done, no signs of diabetes. None. It was gone. Eradicated from his body. I'm not saying it was completely elderberry. There were life changes. There were dietary changes. There were some drastic changes in his world that he didn't want to make, but did, and that was the result. Now, we have European and American elderberry is found to have cancer-inhibiting properties, and that is from test tube studies. It's also found to inhibit growth of bacteria, improving symptoms of sinusitis and bronchitis. Did you hear that, y'all? Sinusitis and bronchitis. Scarlet?
Yep.
Coronavirus?
Right.
Kind of being tossed around similar to those.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Just saying. Supports immune system through polyphenols and increases the number of white blood cells in the body. It also has been found when used in skin products to have an SPF of 9.88.
Oh, that's good to know.
Right? There is also a study that compared 15 different varieties of berries and another that compared wine. Both found elderberry to be one of the most effective antioxidants in both studies.
Huh. Isn't that interesting? And elderberry has been coming out more. I've been seeing articles lately talking about it, allopathic articles saying, oh, elderberry is also a choice. I seen an article last week that was like Tamiflu and elderberry, a choice for the flu.
Right, right. See, because good. we have this study in mice. They were given 544 milligrams of extract per pound. And they actually showed improvement in mood markers and performance, making it very useful for depression.
So also a treatment for depression.
Treatment for what?
Depression. Is that what
yes. Now, we already covered that it was poisonous if not used correctly.
Correct.
Now, this is the part that gets me, y'all. We just went through all these studies, all this research, all these placebos, all of these things, right?
Right.
Guess what?
What?
They do not recommend the use of elderberry for anyone below the age of 18 or while they're pregnant or breastfeeding because although there have been no adverse events ever reported, there's no studies to confirm the safety.
And why not do one?
No studies to confirm the safety, G, but yet there's no studies to confirm the safety of vaccines.
Right.
Yet we're supposed to put those in our children and our pregnant and breastfeeding women. Without question.
Without question, because, safe and effective.
Now, they also say that there's no real side effects to the use of elderberry. Negatively, really. Okay? They haven't found any. Other than the cyanide part, which we know how to avoid. So knowing how to avoid that, knowing that it's not even in the cooked berry at all, and it's not in the flowers in any way, and those are the two main parts that are helpful in what we're needing. And we have all of this research, even placebo-based testing and studies that vaccines do not have. But we're not allowed to give out elderberry?
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
How is that not a double motherfucking standard right now?
That's true, though. And this is the hypocrisy that we have to deal with these people. And this is why we need to have our own cognitive dissonance, because why are they allowed to choose this for us? Why?
Right. Okay. Now, vaccines we know can cause death. There's no safety studies. And we're not just encouraged to give them to our children and our pregnant and lactating women, but we're being forced to.
Forced, yeah. Against our will. That's for sure.
Okay. This is all mechanical health. And this is exactly why I prefer a Hippocrates health over Galen theory health. Okay? And they say that since the studies on elderberry, this is also very most interesting, right? Because they say that the studies on elderberry are only performed in labs. And since they're not tested extensively in humans, they absolutely cannot be recommended for any particular health benefit.
What?
Say what?
What?
Let me repeat this for you. Since the studies on elderberry are only performed within laboratories and not tested extensively on humans, they absolutely cannot be recommended for any particular health benefit.
See, that's because they know it's natural and they can't make money on it. You know, it's not because it actually doesn't work. I have a really hard time believing that to be true. Okay, I just do.
So let me ask you a question, Scarlet.
Yes, Brett.
What little bit of research and studies that we do have on vaccines, where are they performed?
Usually in clinical trials, not in laboratories.
Okay.
So
where are the ones for vaccines being performed?
I would assume laboratories and clinical facilities, but
because they haven't done any clinical trials.
No, that's true. So it'd have to be done in labs. So then how could you guarantee safety? Right.
So they've admitted that they've done no clinical trials, which means that the only thing that they've done is within laboratories. The only research or anything that has been done on vaccines has been done in laboratories, and it's been very little.
Right.
And have they ever done extensive testing on humans?
Right.
For vaccines?
Yep.
They have?
They have what?
I said, have they ever done extensive human studies on vaccines?
Not extensive in what way? Because I mean, they have done the studies as far as first level, but the post-marketing trials are all done on people technically after they take it. So
right, which they've done the same thing with the elderberry in their study.
True.
In pretty much the same way that vaccines are being done right now, and yet we're told vaccines are safe and effective, and that we should just trust their little tests in the lab, but yet they say that since all the tests for elderberries have only been done in a lab and not extensively on humans, they can't be recommended for specific health benefits. So why are we recommending vaccines for any specific health benefit?
Right. Absolutely.
Let alone having them forced on us.
Right.
Just a thought, people. So I'm just saying, this is another motherfucking double standard right here. Because I have seen more research and more stuff poured into the elderberry research and studies than I have seen poured into the vaccine. Other than the making of them. But as far as what they are actually doing and how they're being used and if they're effective, I have seen more research and more studies to prove that than I have ever seen provided by the vaccine company.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Now, Dr. Axe, July 10th of 2019, says that most historians typically trace elderberry healing to the father of all medicine himself, Hippocrates. Hippocrates called elderberry his medicine bag due to the array of things that it cured.
Right.
Now, it is one of the top antiviral herbs on the entire planet. Here is one that is about to blow everybody's mind right now. Let's rewind not so far back to 1995. Everybody with me? 1995. What was going on in 1995, guys? Do you remember?
No.
Panama flu epidemic.
Yeah, no, I don't know nothing about that. I was small during that. So.
Okay. So, 1995 Panama flu epidemic. Rampant. Going crazy. Kind of like now. Coronavirus.
Oh, hell no. Hold up, Red. Hold up. Hold up. Seized meat products from China test positive for African swine fever.
Mm-hmm.
That's here.
Yep.
And you know we process most of our meat in China, not the United States.
Yeah. It's why I only get local.
You better hope your local people aren't sourcing from somewhere else because it's cheaper.
No. Like when I paid
sourced from China, local is going to be, I mean, unless you're going to the butcher for every single one and you know for a fact he's not ordering from somebody other.
I only go to Center Butcher now, dude.
China or this or that. Like, unless you've seen the paperwork yourself, I'm not eating nothing no more, dude. I'm over it. I'm not. Unless I've seen the paperwork proving that this thing didn't come from China, I'm over it. Who knows if this stuff activates? Why are we seeing this all of a sudden? African swine fever can take out a bunch of animals. Like, this is a whole different ball game besides the coronavirus. What is going on? What is going on right now?
Well, in 1995, we had the Panama flu epidemic, and the government actually used elderberry to stop the epidemic. Now, we actually have research that shows elderberry extract to be safe, effective, and cost-efficient treatment for cold and flus. The air traveler study from earlier was actually performed in 2016, and it was actually published in the Nutrient. Elderberry flavonoids in its extract. Now, this is important, okay? In its extract, bind to H1N1 human flu and H5N1 avian flu. Binds to, which means it eradicates. Now, there was a study published in the Journal of International Medical Research that confirmed using the extract within the first 48 hours of any flu symptoms can shorten the duration by an average of 4 days. There was also a study by the Institute of Contemporary Medicine's Department of Internal Medicine at the University Hospital in Zurich, Switzerland, which evaluated the product named Sinuprit. It contains elderberry extract. They use the Sinuprit to treat bacterial sinusitis along with an antibiotic, doxycycline, and a decongestant.
Doxycycline.
Yes, and a decongestant. Those that took the Sinuprit did better than those that did not. They also have research that they published in the Journal of Nutrition that showed an extract of elder a significantly increased glucose oxidation, transport, and glucogenesis without any added insulin. And in 2017, there was an animal study published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences that stated that elderberry's potential as a source of bioactive compounds for formulating use in the management of diabetes. The researchers found that lipophilic and polar extracts of the berry lower insulin resistance in type 2 diabetes in rats. It also helps protect against fluid retention. So those are all the things that we know elderberry can do. And I'm just saying, you might want to begin some elderberry up in your life right now. You know, I'm not saying it will work, but it's not going to hurt. Damn sure ain't going to hurt.
No, it's not going to hurt because look, where we're at right now is really dangerous and scary. I need everybody to realize what's going on right now. Okay. We're already up to, at this point, even since I've left the house and come back, we're at 81 dead, 2,822 cases. Now, with the new estimate that over 100,000 people are infected running around, I believe it, because they said 5 million people escaped from Wuhan before they locked the city down. Where are those 5 million people now? Those 5 million people now are going all around China or all around the world. They could be here. They could be next door. We don't know where they are. Okay. And what's scary about that, even more so, is this whole situation right here that I'm about to read to you, that I hope everybody understands what this actually means, because this is a really big deal. Okay. So this goes about the first gentleman that is supposedly patient 0. Supposedly patient 0 was never at the wet market. Okay. And this is an article.
The fish market?
The wet market, which is like that, the fish market, the seafood market. Whatever.
Right, because they said that it came from the because originally they were saying that it came from the fish market.
Yes, correct.
Right. And now we've learned that patient 0 never went to said fish market.
Right. Because, okay, so Lin Yu, a doctor at Wuhan Union Medical College Hospital, recalled that at the beginning of the epidemic, Wuhan's strategy was cold treatment. Okay. The hospital where he was located informed that there is no authorization from the unit and is not allowed to talk about the condition in private on the public platform, which is Weibo, and not to be interviewed by the media in private. Just let it be said. On January 21st, Wang Guiyang, a member of the high-level expert group of the National Health and Medical Commission and chair professor of the Department of Microbiology at the University of Hong Kong, proposed that supercommunicators have appeared, saying that of the 15 medical staff in Wuhan announced at the time, 14 were infected by the same patient. Subsequently, Wuhan's Mayor Zhu Zhenwang's speech in the media directly lacked the super communicator in neurosurgery. Union Hospital, Tongji Medical College, and Huangshan University of Science and Technology. In an interview with CCT reporters on January 21st, he said the cross-infection that occurred at Union Hospital of Huangshan University of Science and Technology was a patient in neurosurgery, not in the infectious disease department. Because neurosurgery ignored this, the patient was infected with this new coronavirus before he was admitted to the hospital. Okay. So after the operation, the patient developed a fever, and at this time, 1 doctor and 13 nurses were infected. There's no such thing as ignore. A neurosurgeon of Wuhan Ji wrote this post. The patient did not have any respiratory symptoms before surgery. A lung infection occurred 3 days after surgery, and a suspect was considered on the 5th day after surgery.
An unknown cause of pneumonia was actively reported. Isolation and disinfection treatment were conducted under the guidance of hospital specialists and experts in the infection department and respiratory department. It also stated that the 14 people diagnosed with the infection were actually the 10 neurosurgery nurses and 4 medical staff in pediatric surgery, gynecology, cardiology, and pediatric cardiology. At 1600 on January 21st, a press conference organized by the Guangdong Provincial Government Office, Zhang Nanshan, revealed that a case of a patient affecting 14 medical staff appeared in Wuhan. This did not appear in an infectious disease hospital, but in a place that is not infecting patients, neurology and surgery. So we need to pay attention to all medical staff with prevention issues. An expert from Peking University said in an interview with China News Weekly that the patient infected with multiple medical staff could be identified as a super communicator. The expert said in terms of the number of infected people, the number of infected people is more than 3, they can be considered as a super spreader. If the number of infected people is more than 10, they should be more accurate super communicators. A month ago, Zhang Zhuji, who had a pituitary tumor, finally lived in the Wuhan Medical College. At the age of 69, his heart function was not very good. He had a coronary heart disease and sinus brachycardia. He lived in the hospital for 12 days, preoperative examination and evaluation. According to the medical staff from the neurosurgery department at the hospital, Zhao Zhenji's first diagnosis should be more than 10 days before the hospitalization. That medical staff member emphasized that the patient had no history of contact with the South China seafood market. Before the operation, Zhao Zhenji had no respiratory symptoms. His temperature was normal. His white blood cells and lymphocytes were normal. A conventional chest radiograph before surgery showed that he had stripes in the left costal corner area. Considering that he was older and had a history of smoking, it was normal for the lung to have inflammation or thickened lung texture. According to the medical personnel, Zhao Zhenji was full of vitality and good mental condition at the time, and there was no reason to suspect that he had an unknown case of pneumonia infection. According to relevant regulations, medical protection is divided into first, second, and third levels. Secondary protection requires relevant medical personnel to enter the isolation observation room, and special wards must wear more than 12 layers of cotton gauze masks, work clothes, gowns, shoe covers, gloves, work caps, hand washing, and disinfectant immediately after each contact. 3-level protection is suitable for medical staff who perform sputum suction, tracheotomy, and tracheal intubation for patients. On the basis of secondary protection, and a comprehensive respiratory protective device should also be worn. But for the staff of Wuhan Union Medical College, it was difficult to persuade a patient who did not have any of the respiratory symptoms to be isolated, and the 3rd-level protective equipment was a medical consumable, which also involved issues such as costs and reimbursement due to the communist government. According to the normal operation of the hospital, a patient transferred a total of 3 wards and lived in the neurosurgery 19th floor ward before operation. The operation was completed smoothly. In the early morning of January 8th, the patient was transferred to the monitoring room on the 3rd floor of the Shenhua No. 2 building. In the meantime, on January 9th, the Chinese expert health group informed the pathogen of unexplained viral pneumonia in Wuhan was initially identified as a new type of coronavirus. So the question is, when did the patient become infected? If it is a pre-hospital infection, the patient's incubation period has already exceeded 15 days, which is inconsistent with the longest incubation period given of the new coronavirus by experts of 12 days. If the infection is considered after hospitalization, the patient has changed wards 3 times after the operation. Several wards are located separated far away. There's no way to clarify where the infection is. One patient was later diagnosed with new coronavirus pneumonia, but another doctor interviewed pointed out, in addition to this patient, other doctors and patients were later isolated. On the 5th day after surgery, Zhao Zhenji's pneumonia symptoms showed an irreversible worsening situation. His lung CT was multiple blurred images of both lungs. His several medical personnel who contacted him also developed fever symptoms. Under the guidance of the Department of Infectious Disease and Respiratory Medicine, the hospital immediately transferred patients to the expanded infection ward for isolation, disinfection, and treatment. At this time, Zhao Zhenji had to be moved to the 4th ward after surgery. For the fevered medical staff, the hospital immediately opened a special isolation ward for isolation and placement. By January 15th, Zhao Zhenji was diagnosed with the new coronavirus infection and was immediately referred to Wuhan Jintan Hospital as required. The aforementioned medical staff said the protection that doctors can do is the best, not the so-called negligence. In the circular issued by Wuhan Municipal Health and Medical Committee at 23:55 on the 16th, there was no mention of the infection of medical staff. Suppressed message looking back at the spread of coronaviruses in Wuhan, the emergence of super communicators like Zhao Zhengqi, almost inevitable. On December 30th, 2019, a red-headed document stamped with the official seal of the Wuhan Municipal Health and Committees of Medical Affairs and Medical Administration's Division circulated on the internet, urgently notifying that unknown cases of pneumonia appear in Wuhan, South China seafood market. On December 31st, the Wuhan municipal government announced that a total of 27 cases were found, 7 of which were serious, no human-to-human transmission was found, and the medical staff infection was found. And no medical staff infection was found. Official Weibo of People's Daily issued a message. At present, the cause is not clear, and it cannot be concluded that it is a SARS virus rumored online. After investigation and verification by Wuhan Municipal Public Security Organ, it's also summoned 8 illegal personnel who posted and forwarded false information on the internet and dealt with it according to law, which means with that social justice score, they came and killed them 8 people who spoke out about it. They say from January 6th to 10th, the Wuhan Municipal Commission did not issue a report on the unexplained pneumonia. On 12/31, they reported the epidemic situation. I went to buy a mask that day. The pharmacy lined up product and was out of stock. In the next few days, the official asked us to don't spread rumors. And I said, I haven't seen any people pass, and we're relaxed. More than a week later, there was no increase in one case, and we thought it was over. A Wuhan netizen wrote on a personal social platform. They call people netizens over there. If you're on the internet and you're doing stuff, you're a netizen. On the updated January 11th, the Wuhan Municipal Health Commission said no new cases have been detected since January 3rd, 2020. At present, no medical staff infections have been detected and no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission has been found. A few days after that, Thailand and Japan reported new cases of coronavirus. January 12th to 17th, the third meeting of the 13th National People's Conference of Hubei province was held in Wuhan. On the 18th, the Bai Buting community also held the 20th Wanja banquet. On the afternoon of the 20th, Wuhan Provincial Emergency Management Department held a spring festival gala. On the 21st, Provincial Chinese New Year Party visited an art performance in Hangsang Auditorium. The official count of the Hubei Provincial Folk Song and Dance Troupe who participated in the performance wrote that there were provincial leaders of all walks of life who attended the show. In Wuhan, everyone wears a layer of masks, overcomes pneumonia panic, and goes all out with dedication and earnestness. Before January 20th, many people were not seen wearing masks on Wuhan Street. Lin Yu only once asked why Wuhan Metro employees did not wear masks, and the other party said the leaders would not let them for fear of causing panic. It's too chilling. If the official made it clear from the beginning, 50 to 60% of the people would be well protected, Lin Yu told China News Weekly. I realized that it was serious after academician Zhang Nangshan and the 20th person came out to speak person to person. Many interviewees said this. At the time, Wuhan Medical College has temporarily requisitioned the Medical Examination Center as its infection ward. The first floor is an infusion room. The second and third floors are patient wards, and the fourth floor has medical staff isolation room. During the resettlement, more than 20 medical staff were suspected of infection at the highest peak. After Zhang Nanshan's speech on January 20th, chaos continued. On the 22nd, the expected mother, Lu Fang, was suspected of having been infected with the new coronavirus, lived in Wuhan Concord Infectious Disease Department until the 4th day, and she was about to go to bed. Fearing to have an impact on the fetus, she has never done CT, and a kit that can detect the new coronavirus has not been exhausted to her because of a shortage. The diagnosis was confirmed on the day of the cesarean because first the baby had a cesarean section and the baby had to be cesarean. There was no way. The doctor wore a 3-level protective suit and dressed like an astronaut to give her a cesarean section. According to the responses, several issues concerned by the citizens of Wuhan Municipal Health and Health Committee were released on the 23rd before the previous January 22nd period. More than 200 samples can only be tested per day. There are 200 people in line more than that every day, and that's just one of 7 designated hospitals in Wuhan. At that time, the longest Wuhan Concord was more than 5 hours, and the shortest was 2 to 3 hours. Lin Yu said at the time there was 30 medical staff in the hospital to observe and isolate. Except for the medical staff who sent out fever clinics, they were equipped with 3-level protective equipment such as goggles, masks, and gowns. Doctors and nurses in other departments and wards basically had no other protection except masks. Requests for support. The aforementioned neurosurgeon compiled the list of more than 20 hospitals in Wuhan and posted it on a personal social platform. Resources are tight and the supplies may only be sufficient for 3 to 5 days. So we've got a big issue here because how come patient 0 ain't patient 0? And how come he caught this after he came in, but then they said he had it, but then they tested him and they didn't test him till like the 15th day he was there, of which they say you're only a carrier for so long, and then boom, you would already had it. Why did it not show up after his surgery?
Why didn't it show up before?
Right. You'd think when he's going through over a week or 2 of tests to get the surgery that they couldn't have caught that?
Or seen that something was going on with him?
Yeah. Like they said, they saw a little bit on chest x-ray, but it wasn't anything outside of normal limits. So my question is patient 0 really patient 0? Because he never went to the Wuhan seafood market. So then we need a whole new goddamn scenario, because that's what you said. Well, the government, that is. Now, I'm not saying that's what Red said, but I'm saying this is what the Chinese government and everybody who's telling us the official story is saying. It came from this Chinese wet market. Well, dude wasn't at the Chinese wet market. So, boom, try again, y'all. Try again. Because I'm not taking this. I'm not the one. This ain't it. This ain't that. Like I usually, this ain't that, y'all. This ain't that.
No, it ain't. Well, wasn't it you that was talking about a husband-wife combo that worked at?
Yes, the Chinese spies, y'all. Okay, so there's 2 Chinese spies. Check it. Okay, I'm gonna go check my messages because people sent me information about this.
And they worked at the Wuhan biological blah, 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 blah lab, right?
All right, hold on. I'm going to see where I can find this. I just had it. I don't know if I shared it on my personal page or on the network page. So give me a second, people. But yes, so basically, you guys, there's 2 Chinese, a husband and wife duo from China who were kicked out of China, okay, because they have decided that China, the Canadians have decided that they were breaching their research, is basically the way I can say it. Oh, also, meanwhile, while the coronavirus was going on, Iran blasted off more missiles at our military bases today, too.
Oh, nice.
So while everybody's talking about Kobe Bryant, which that is really sad, 9 people are dead, okay, including his daughter,
right,
a whole family of people. But at the same time, we've got to get real about this, okay? So let me find, maybe I did. Oh, nope, there it was. Hold on. I just saw it. I think somebody else had shared it, and I don't know if I had shared it yet. Is that it? Yeah. So a man named Kyle Bass had retweeted this, and it was an article from CBC Canada. Husband and wife Chinese spy team were recently removed from a level 4 infectious disease facility in Canada for sending pathogens to the Wuhan facility. The husband specialized in coronavirus research. It can't get much weirder if you tried. And they got kicked out of Canada for that. Okay. So I'm just wondering, and this isn't the first time the Chinese have been caught with their spies trying to send stuff back to China.
Okay. Now they were trying to take coronavirus back to China?
Yeah. They got caught sending it back to China. They got caught even because they made them go.
Did they get any before that out of China or out of Canada?
I don't know. Probably. I would assume they probably did. If they just caught them, I'm guaranteeing they sent over a bajillion things before they got caught.
And how did they catch them? Did they say exactly how?
I haven't got to be able to find the article, but somebody took a screenshot of the article. So I'm going to look for the title. But see, I believe it because I see the article. You know, it's a screenshotted article. So the article existed at one point. But let's see.
No, I'm more curious, like, how did they... Outbreak! That was the name of the movie.
Oh, Outbreak. There we go.
But I'm kind of curious to know...
This was July 14th, okay? So let's go read what they had to say about it. Quang-Guo-Q students have been reassigned pending RMCP investigation. Zhang Guo-Q works in a level 4 containment national microbiology laboratory in Winnipeg. She was a part of the team that developed ZMapp, a treatment for Ebola. The University of Manitoba has cut ties with 2 researchers who were escorted out of a national microbiology lab in Winnipeg earlier this month until an RMCP investigation is complete. Zhang Guo-Q is a medical doctor and virologist who developed ZMapp treatment for the deadly Ebola virus. She's also an adjunct professor in the university's medical microbiology until Monday. Her non-salaried position has ended and all students she supervised have been reassigned. The non-salaried appointment of her husband, Kiting Ching, has also ended as the police investigation continues. Danikas said he's a biologist who also has done a lot of work on Ebola. Danikas was unavailable to indicate the number of students affected, saying the only information that can be shared while police are involved. According to sources inside the NML, Q Chang and an unknown number of her students from China were removed from the lab on July 5th. The level 4 virology facility, the only one in Canada, is equipped to work with the most serious and deadly human-animal diseases. Security access for the couple and the Chinese students were revoked. Sources say this comes several months after IT specialists for the NML entered Ku's office after hours and replaced her regular computer. Her regular trips to China also started being denied. At meetings on July 8th, NML staff were told that researchers are on leave for an unknown period of time. They were told not to communicate with them. Manitoba RMCP investigated and started an investigation after the Public Health Agency of Canada contacted them on May 24th.
Hey, Scarlet.
Yes.
Here's a fun fact. You said the only one in Canada, right?
Correct.
The one that stands in Wuhan
is only one of 4 in China.
Is the only one allowed to do the research on those particular
on the level
viruses
4,
in
on the
all of China.
Level 4 that we talked about. Yes, and they're the only BSL level 4 lab in China.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just saying.
How do you like
that? Could be a connection right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And listen to this. They don't say why, but listen. Manitoba RMCP started an investigation after the Public Health Agency of Canada contacted them on May 24th. Yes. The RMCP and PHAC said there's no threat to public safety. Oh, is there? Is there now? Is there now, Canada?
Right.
Because these people work at the most serious level facilities for this disease. People have caught disease. Husband works on disease, and y'all got caught trying to send stuff back to China. Okay. So they say that the PHAC is describing...
And if they're sending it back to China, y'all, and it's a level 4, which we know.
They could have sent it to a level 4 facility.
They're going to send it to the only level 4 facility, which is Wuhan. So this is starting to make more sense again, that it didn't make it to its destination or busted open on its way, or...
Now they released it because they've had it potentially since May.
Right.
Or somebody didn't get it, or they caught it on the way over, because People in America have been caught for trying to send viruses illegally. Hell. Right. So don't tell me the Chinese aren't doing it, especially if they can get into the facility, you know. I mean,
they showed us how to do it in freaking Jurassic Park.
Yeah, see? So they say that they are taking steps to resolve it expeditiously, said Eric Morissette, the health agency's chief of media relations. He declined further comment, citing privacy reasons. Officials won't say what kind of policy breach would be serious enough to warrant a referral to the RCMP. I know what would. Global pandemic.
Right. Truth, though.
Right? Okay, what would get the RMCP involved? Oh, yeah, global pandemic health threat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She's still affiliated with the university there and has brought up many students in the years to help her with their work. During a news conference on Monday, China's foreign ministry spokesperson Gang Shuang said the Chinese embassy in Canada has not received any notification that Chinese citizens are involved. If there are indeed Chinese citizens that are involved, embassy and consulates will provide consular assistance and earnestly protect their legitimate rights and interests according to the law. He said, according to an English transcript on the Chinese Foreign Ministry's website, it's not immediately clear if Kui is a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or a Chinese national. The situation came up during a news conference with the Secretary General of NATO. Jen Stolenwald, who toured the CFB Petawawa on Monday and met with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, said at a news conference he wouldn't comment on the specific case, but it appeared to suggest the possibility of espionage. What I can say in general is that we've increased efforts by the nations to spy on NATO allies in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And this is partly about industrial espionage. And it affects our military forces and military intelligence. So this is something that we have to take very seriously. There's no confirmation of espionage involved in this case. But this happened, y'all.
Right.
This happened. Okay, this was a thing. Now we're gonna go look because they have links about this guy, and I don't know if they still have him linked on here as a professor or what. Let's go see if they're still listed. I doubt they are now. Kang Jiming, professor from China, Iran. No, they only got one Chinese guy now.
What?
Yeah, they got rid of everybody else. There's only one Chinese guy now. His name is Dr. Kang Jiming. Jiming Kang.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So that's it. So I think that's something that we need to focus about. They're saying China's death toll from coronavirus, now 80, warns its ability to spread is increasing. China's death toll from new coronavirus grew to 80 on Monday as residents of Hubei province, where the disease originated, were banned from entering Hong Kong amid global efforts to halt the rapid spread of the outbreak. They let people go around for the last week before they did the lockdowns and let them all run around before they locked down the cities.
Right.
How are you going to stop it? This is what I want to know. Honestly, how did they think they're going to stop it when they locked down the cities and let people run before they locked it down?
Right.
You can't do that. That's the dumbest thing.
And they just did Chinese New Year.
Right. And it was Chinese New Year. So folks were at their parents' house or whatever with their mom and them. And then now they're coming back.
Right.
Okay. So they said the numbers of the deaths of flu-like virus in Hubei climbed from 56 to 76 overnight, which now it's up to 80. But that's true. When we went to bed, about 24 hours from last, that's what the number was.
Right.
Okay. And then by the time we woke up, it was already in the 70s. So it had already, remember when I told you it had increased by 24 cases the last time I had checked?
Right.
And that was like, what, 6:30 my time? Now we're up to 80?
Yeah, probably about 6:30.
Yeah. So they say the Chinese cabinet said it would extend the week-long lunar New Year by 3 days to February 2nd in a bid to slow the virus. Hubei city of Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak, is already under virtual lockdown with severe restrictions on movement in place in other several Chinese cities. Beijing has called for transparency and managed the crisis after public trust was eroded by a cover-up of the spread of SARS. Well, y'all done did it already again.
Right.
The coronavirus that originated in China that killed 800 people globally in 2002 and 2003. A newly identified coronavirus has created alarm because much about it is still unknown, such as how dangerous it is and how easily it spreads between people. It can cause pneumonia, which has been deadly. The virus, believed to have originated in a seafood market in Wuhan that was illegally selling wildlife, has already spread to cities including Beijing and Shanghai. The WHO last week stopped short of calling the outbreak a global health emergency, but some health experts question whether China can contain the epidemic. They can't. They can't. The Chinese CDC dude in Event 201 said if this hits China, we can't do nothing. There's too many people. We cannot control it. That came out of the Chinese minister's mouth. Now, that may have been during an exercise, but he still said it. I'm going to keep saying that because that's what the man said.
Right.
WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, his name is too much. General Tedros, we're going to call him, said on Saturday he was on his way to Beijing to meet officials and health experts dealing with the coronavirus. My WHO colleagues and I would like to understand the latest developments and strengthen our partnership with China, providing further protection against the outbreak. Many are comparing the new coronavirus to SARS, but there are major differences between then and now, including the power and influence of its social media. Chinese ruled Hong Kong has 6 confirmed cases and said it would ban entry from Monday to people who have visited Hubei province in the past 14 days. The ban does not apply to Hong Kong residents. Well, how does that make sense? If I'm a Hong Kong resident and I went to Hubei in the last 14, you know what I mean? Like, how does that make sense? See, look, these rules aren't going to necessarily help. If people can't come in from Hubei, but it doesn't count for Hong Kong people, well, how the hell does that even make sense? Because I could be from Hong Kong and went to Wuhan and came back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Airports around the world have stepped up screening of passengers from China, although some health officials and experts have questioned the effectiveness of these efforts. France, Italy, Japan, and the United States also they're working to evacuate citizens from Wuhan. France said it expects to repatriate a few hundred of its 800 citizens living in the Wuhan area. They're bringing the people back. Why?
Because they're killing them.
Yeah, why would France bring the people back? Unless you want to infect everybody. Oh, let's bring all these people back who are living in Wuhan because we need to protect our people. What if they already have the shit?
Yeah.
Nobody thought of that? Like, what if they already have the disease and then you just picked up all these people and put them on a plane and brought them back home and now you've spread the coronavirus?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to have some common sense here, but it would seem to me that I would put them in quarantine for like a month and not bring them home. Now, maybe I'd move them out of China, but I don't know if I'd bring them home to France. I might go send them to one of our islands that we own or something, but I don't know if I'm bringing them back to France.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? Give them a little vacation, send them off with a few things, send a nurse down there with them. It'll be all right.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying, there's a way you could take care of them without bringing them back to France. Because what if we don't know something about this virus, how it mutates? We already don't know so much. And then you bring these potentially 800 people back from Wuhan. Then what? So these evacuees would have to spend 14 days in quarantine to avoid spreading the virus in France. Now, we just found out from Homeboy, who's supposedly patient 1, that he had symptoms way after 15 days.
Right.
He was in the hospital the whole time. How'd he catch it?
Mm-hmm.
How you going to be in the hospital the whole time and then catch coronavirus? You know, I'm just saying.
Right. It's true, though.
It is true. I mean, if you're in the hospital the whole time, where'd you catch it from?
Right.
Somebody either gave it to him or somebody else is patient 0, because if he was in the hospital, like the article said legitimately, then there's no way he caught it.
Right.
because he didn't come with it unless the incubation period is 30 days.
Right.
Up to 30 days. Then we could talk, but no diseases like that, so I could see them not even wanting to entertain
it.
Right. You dig what I'm saying? Because they're like, well, we've never seen anything like that, so why would it do that? You know,
right.
But I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out here at this point. Don't quote me. They say that he felt agonized and responsible for the outbreak, Hubei's governor Wang Zhaodong. He described the situation as severe and medical supplies were still tight. That means everybody about to die, okay? Why would he feel agonized and responsible for it? Unless he did something to help the spread or knew about it or was complicit with it.
Right.
Okay, you wouldn't feel bad like that. You wouldn't feel, what did he say? Agonized and responsible. You wouldn't have no guilt. You would feel bad as the mayor, like, I can't protect my people. I don't know what happened. You wouldn't feel like it's my fault. Like,
right.
You wouldn't. Not a good mayor, not someone who didn't have anything to do with it. You would feel like, oh, I can't help my people. I'm hurt. I'm heartbroken, you know?
Right.
So they said the news of the press conference sparked anger on Weibo, China's equivalent to Twitter. Although social media platforms in China usually delete such sensitive comments. He thinks one sentence of an apology will be enough to solve the problem. Let's await the judgment of the people of the country. Ooh, Chinese don't sound happy.
Right.
The Chinese might revolt. It's possible. They're supposedly shooting people on sight over there, right? They're coming out of their houses. They're trying to leave, run away.
I know, I've heard.
And, you know, to some degree, I'm not going to say I don't blame them. But I could see maybe how a government would panic and think, oh, should we just kill all the people to stop the spread? If we kill them, they spread it. You know?
Never.
No.
This is allowing fear to control the situation.
That's what I'm saying. But I could see how people who don't have good moral, like roots could get to that point. But I can't ever see it as being an option for me.
And I do feel that it is an important factor also to bring up that Wuhan itself is over 11 million in population. It's severely overcrowded. Its sanitation is not very good.
And that's mainly because it's a new city.
Right.
They're trying to build up to be the new New York City. So they only have, so they're kind of between the transition phase of being a less industrialized area to an industrialized area.
Right. And they're still, working out kinks and things. And this is a pretty good possibility on why the spreading is happening so quickly in Wuhan
if they were acting like it didn't even exist. I saw a video last night of a woman it was a person who had collapsed, and she asked whoever she was with, she was like, do you feel it's important now to wear your mask? I've been telling you this is important. So people are starting to be aware of what's going on and starting to realize even there. I think that they didn't think it was that big of a deal at first because it was such a few people. But now it's exploded. They said China's health minister has indicated the ability of a new strain of coronavirus to spread in this country is getting stronger and the number of infections will continue to rise. Mr. Zhao Wei spoke Sunday after China released new figures showing the death toll from the virus. Transmissibility shows signs of increasing, and the walking source of infection, where patients have very few signs of disease, has made it difficult to control or prevent the disease. For this new coronavirus, we have not identified the source of the infection, and we are not clear about its mutation and how it spreads. Since this is a new coronavirus, there might be some changes in the upcoming days and weeks, and the danger it poses to people of different ages is also changing. The minister declined to estimate how long it would take to bring the situation under control, but travel restrictions and other strict measures should bring results at the lowest cost and fastest speed. It's about the Benjamins.
Mm-hmm.
Or the wand for Chinese. But it's about money. Listen to that. This is like the same thing that doctor said. Oh, we can't do that because it's not cost effective.
Right.
We're actually not going to take care of. So, you know, in the world of political fakes, this would be a political fake. Somebody who says, I can't help the people because it's not cost effective.
Right. Right.
Honestly, that's what I see out of this. They said the U.S. has 5 confirmed cases among people who traveled to Wuhan, Los Angeles County in California, and Maricopa County, Arizona. I don't know if I got to tell you about the Arizona case. It's getting closer to you, Red.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's getting closer. I mean, they're
still investigating to see if we have one here.
Oh, yeah, I know there's a possible case there, but that's not been confirmed. But will they even confirm these cases? Or are they afraid to start reporting how much coronavirus is coming here?
Right, right.
Because I have a feeling that they would. You know, you start having this in too many large cities. They showed California last night, and in the area where this happened, people aren't even going out to restaurants right now.
Right.
They've stayed home. Like, they have shut down business like it's a ghost town.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't blame people either. If it comes to your town and you find out there's a case, you need to stay at home to figure out if you didn't pass by that guy in your daily dues.
Right.
Because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be that you came in contact with somebody more in your daily life than somebody you honestly probably know. You know, somebody you ran into at the gas station, or, you know, somebody who touched the door before you. Right. That's what it's going to be. The 3 previous reported cases were a patient in Orange County, California, a man in his 30s in Washington, and a woman in her 30s from Chicago. Who's the patient in Orange County? Why are they giving ages of the other 2, but not these 2? Mm-hmm. It's a good question, right? So they believe that the symptoms are fever, cough, shortness of breath, breathing difficulties, severe cases, pneumonia, kidney failure, and death. Okay. Transmission from animals to humans. Novel coronavirus occur when they're transmitted between animals and humans. SARS came from supposedly civet cats to humans, and MERS came from camels to humans, supposedly. Okay. That's what they say. Transmission human to human. These viruses become dangerous when they're transmitted. U.S. patients generally have been reported in good condition and hospitalization and isolation for monitoring, because they said that the guy in Washington, they're serving him with robots. Nobody's actually even physically touching him. They've got him in isolation and have robots bringing him his stuff.
Interesting.
That's what I thought. Why wouldn't, you know what I mean? That they're so afraid of it that no one's even going around it. They're like, send a robot in. We ain't doing it. And China's got hella robots, so I'm surprised they didn't bring robots first. Right, right. Just saying. They say that they believe that it has an incubation period of 2 weeks, and the worldwide number of confirmed cases is over 2,000. The CDC is screening passengers on direct and connecting flights at 5 major airports. CDC officials noted Sunday that more than 24 people who had been suspected of having the illness end up testing negative. In Canada, health officials in Ontario confirmed its first presumptive case of coronavirus, a man in his 50s who was in Wuhan before flying to Toronto on January 22nd. Yep. When are we going to stop flights from China coming in, from the Wuhan area, and people who have been to Wuhan? How hard is it to ask people when they go through customs? You been to Wuhan? You been anywhere in China? Where you been in China? Where'd you go? Right. Prove where you were. And then we just quarantine them. I don't know what else to say. I don't like it in putting people up, because that quarantine thing scares me for rights. You know, they could just quarantine all of us and say, oh, you're under quarantine because you guys are healthy and we're trying to stop the spread, so now you need to be quarantined for your health. It can go either way. Right. Quarantine because you're sick, quarantine for health. And one thing we know from the Black Plague is if they try to quarantine folks up in their houses and people get this, they're going to die. Right. Bottom line. Because you're not going to be able to go anywhere. You know, one thing I think people forget is the bills are going to keep rolling in if this coronavirus comes and shuts down the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
None of us are gonna be able to go to work, but somehow they're gonna expect us to be able to pay for gas, food, and all these other things, but nobody's working because nobody's allowed to travel.
Exactly. And then what?
Then what? Then we're all sitting ducks. And that's what I'm so afraid of. You know, some people are even saying, don't, you know, if you live in a place that you rent, you know, don't even pay rent on the first. Get up and go. I don't know if it's that serious yet. I would like to see some activity like of China level here before I would say, all right, it's time for us to go. One or two people here or there that could have maybe only had contact with a few hundred people at most. And then, you know what I mean? So maybe these 5 cases could have potentially maybe been around, you know, 500 people. That's not that big of a deal with, you know, 2,800 confirmed cases in China that we know of and 80 deaths. You know, I'd like to see some American patients die even maybe. You know, we got to feel there's got to be something there for an epidemic. You know, we're watching it in China, but what if it is a biological weapon against the Chinese? Why the Chinese are dropping like flies and none of the Americans have died.
Right.
Just saying. I'm trying to think of, you know, ideas. That's all. But I think it's something that at this point it needs to be watched carefully, watched closely. I don't know where I just my phone. Oh, here. I don't think it disappeared. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about because I think it's important. Which is all right. Good idea. Good. The coronavirus scare midair. We need to talk about this. Okay. Basically, there was a passenger on Southwest Airlines, right? And he was in Las Vegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, they said that passengers on a Southwest Airlines flight in Las Vegas wore masks over their mouths as another traveler was escorted off the plane after showing flu-like symptoms. Okay.
Oh, right. This is the Southwest thing.
Yeah, they said, well, it was much more than that. The guy was running a fever and putting his head on the seat, leaning back, not feeling good. When the flight attendant said he shouldn't even be flying and ran to the front, shutting the curtain behind her and talking to someone on her headset. Shortly after that, the flight attendant came back with a handful of pills. The guy, I guess the guy's wife said, my husband isn't going to take those. The flight attendant said, no, you will take them or else this plane is landing right now. They didn't tell him.
What pills were they?
Right. They said they don't know. But he did take the pills.
I would have never taken no damn pills.
Where did you get these pills from on a plane? There's no pills on a plane. Where'd you get you ain't gonna pharmacist. Right. You're not a nurse. You're not a pharmacist that's allowed to pass out drugs. And were these your personal drugs? Like, did somebody have Tamiflu with them or something? You know what I mean? That was like, oh, give them this, give them that. You know what I mean? Like, who the hell and what would you give him?
Right.
People are losing their minds, dude. And I'm sorry, but I'd be suing the hell out of Southwest for whatever they force me to take. You cannot force someone to take pills or else we're going to land the plane. And flu-like symptoms aren't coronavirus. First of all, see, we have to deal with ignorant people nowadays, Red. That's the only thing that concerns me is we have to deal with some real ignorant folks that just don't even know what's going on, but now going to try to snatch this man off the plane. They said they ended up landing anyways. And there was ambulances, men in hazmat suits, and they took him in the ambulance. They said as if it's not off enough with the pills. The guy had just been recently in China, but yet he doesn't meet the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention criteria for coronavirus testing.
What?
Why? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, he did feel ill, and he said that, oh, well, I only said I felt woozy. I only said I felt woozy, but people are dying without symptoms.
Right.
So why wouldn't anybody who has been to China, who's having an issue, go or be included in this criteria?
Right.
That's the only thing that's not sitting well. Coronavirus may have originated. Oh, look at Washington Times. Before they delete this, look at that.
I know. I read this earlier.
May have originated in labs linked to China's biowarfare program. Now, you know what? These people are 3-4 days behind us. Okay, can we just say that? And we're just average people. We don't have access to super fancy stuff.
Right.
We're not CIA. We don't have secret government database and, you know, all this other stuff. And Washington Post is 4 days behind us.
Right.
This is why you can trust the media, because we do better than the media. We are the media. Okay? That's scary. I mean, and that Israeli guy who talked about it makes me wonder, because he's the one who said that they started it.
Right.
So we're going to have to see what happens with this. All I know is we need to get our immune systems in play, watch out for the signs and symptoms, watch out for cases in our states, and start acting accordingly. You know, Cavicide can be purchased at any medical health supply store. That kills coronavirus. There's special wipes that sanitize things. They have professional grade hydrogen peroxide that's hospital grade. They have, your antiviral masks. I recommend antiviral masks, not just the irregular N95, but they actually make antiviral masks that are N95, but then have a hydrophilic coating so that when droplets come on, it sticks to the mask and doesn't go to you. Pandemic protection kits, in case it gets bad enough where you do have to dress up in level 2 protection, level 3 protection. We're not going to be able to afford level 4 protection unless you have hundreds of dollars per person. So the best you can do is level 2, maybe 3 protection. It's the best we can do.
Right.
But level 2 protection kits are about $10 a piece, with goggles, with the hairnet, with the arm covers, with the shoe covers, with the gown. And then biohazard bags to put, contaminated potential items in. Those are $10. Eye protection, really important. Wrap around eye protection, like the safety glasses you wear at work. If you have a pair of those, the ANSI 71 can be used for medical applications, because you want to protect your eyes, because they're talking about the eye secretions. Just from me doing this, if I touch somebody who has coronavirus, I now have the coronavirus. That's it. All you have to do is just touch your eye. That's it.
Right.
We're even talking about people who are sick. They believe that even if they aspirate particles, like if I spit on you, they're saying it just even does it from that. Just that alone. Right. So this is not your mom's flu. This isn't, anything we've known of this lifetime. This may even be a bigger pandemic than we've ever known ever. And, we're going to be returning, I think, personally, I'm going to start on my program and things. We're going to start in our prayer. We're going to go through the book of Revelations. Dwayne and I recently went through the book of Revelations again and kind of looked at things. They talk about there'll be earthquakes and then pestilence and famines, and there's a locust storm right now in Uganda, where locusts are taking over everywhere. We've got plague, we've got, events that are going on all at once.
Right.
Is this the beginning of like the apocalypse?
Right.
We don't know. But what we do know is that we're going to be here with you guys, standing by you, keep you updated. Feel free to make a donation to Freedom Revolution Network, help fund the revolution, help keep everybody informed. We're going to be working with a gentleman who knows how to do some radio setups, to where maybe we could get a repeater and start trying to get a few people who could try to repeater out some systems if we lose communication. People need to start thinking about a GRMS license for their home so that they can use the higher frequency bands of like walkie-talkies and ham radios. You could buy a family license for $75 a year. We need to find ways to communicate with each other, because if they decide to shut off the internet because this virus gets too big and they don't want people talking, we're done. It's that simple. And I have a feeling if it makes it here, they're going to do whatever it takes to silence people. And we may not even need, you know, the normal circumstances to, you know, create martial law. And so I'm very concerned, you know, this could be a way to, you know, round up all the patriots, even round up all the gun people. It could be a way to attack anti-vaxxers, because they should already know we're not taking their little vaccine. I don't care if it kills the whole world, I'm taking no vaccine. I'm not. Vaccines are not safer nor effective, and you can never change my mind about that.
Right.
So I don't know what we're going to do, Red. But what I do know is that we'll try to keep everybody safe. I'm going to take a quick check of earthquakes before we get off here. Just make sure nothing else serious hasn't popped off. And then I don't know if you had anything else, but that was about it. Oh, 5.0 in the Kermadex hit. Well, we've been on still. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so we got Western Turkey, California, Puerto Rico again 24 minutes ago, Azores, California, Turkey, Oklahoma, Nevada, Puerto Rico, France, Germany border region, the Azores, Sumatra, Indonesia, southern and northern Sumatra hit basically within a few minutes of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then Albania, which for 3.7 to have 500 people feel that, that's a big deal. I wonder if it was bigger than that, because that's a lot of people to feel that. Now, I know Albanian quakes are smaller, but it's a lot of people. Nevada, Iceland, yeah, we're back. Oh, Mayotte got hit again. I haven't seen Mayotte in a long time. So that's interesting. Let's see. Okay. Now, somebody just literally sent me a tweet from somebody, and we'll read it and we'll see what people think, and we'll kind of end on that. It's not a coincidence that the coronavirus outbreak started in Wuhan. Those who are familiar with the area will know. It must be CIA infiltrated DCs to wage war against China. U.S. has attempted to getting the U.S. university students to take Russian blood samples in the pretense of researchers. But all U.S. universities are funded by U.S. elites. The result are to drop minute virus to invade Russian bodies, such as to disconnect the nerves in biological warfare. And now the U.S. claimed that they had cut overseas assistance by 66% and cannot help contain the outbreak. Be careful, the U.S.'s messages and sinister agenda had to be taken into consideration. Be alert of future attacks. So they said that in the future, military complexes in China will be out of bound from shutterbugs taking pictures. There are some idiots taking photos of Chinese aircraft carriers and other hardware productions. Look at the Russians. Do they do it? But no, they announced their wondrous hardware to deter the U.S. without disclosing their localities. So I find it interesting. I mean, we don't know for sure what's going on, but if it is something like the U.S. waging war on the Chinese, we may only see the Chinese death.
Right.
Will that be enough hype to keep everybody believing that this is a giant threat? If people started getting infected all over the United States, but only the Chinese are dying, we might want to look at that.
Right.
Because then it could be a completely targeted biological weapon. So I think it's something we just stay on top of. We're looking at a lot of things. Like I said, when we're not on, check out Agenda Free TV. They're great. You know, Steve Lookner's great. Tell him we sent you. It's out of control. I'll tell you what. It's definitely out of control. And we just got to stay on top of it and watch this and be on top of it. Who is this list? What is this? Hold on. Because people are in. Today is a satanic holiday. Okay. Grand climax 5 weeks after and 1 day after winter solstice. And they usually do sacrifices on this day of a child 7 to 17, a female. And they killed Kobe Bryant's daughter today.
Yeah.
Just saying. So I found it interesting. So the rabbit hole's getting deeper on that because they said that there's a Simpsons episode about Kobe Bryant dying. And then Comedy Central just did a cartoon about it a couple years ago. And they've always used him for distractions in the past. Remember the rape trials?
Right.
So, I mean, we know that they've used him for distractions in the past. So we'll have to keep watching. So, yeah. So I don't know if you have anything else, Red, but that's about it for me.
Nope. We're ready to wrap it up for the night. We've had another great episode here. And dare to be different, dare to be you, dare to learn to love yourself unconditionally.
And from the land of 10,000 lakes and from the highest desert valley in the great American Southwest, good night, everyone.